Hello and welcome to South Bay Sports Radio. Here's your host, Nick Ingram.
Welcome in. Our next guest needs little to no introduction, a 13-year veteran of Major League Baseball with stops in Oakland, Atlanta, Angels, Washington, Minnesota. The current Los Angeles Angels manager, Cal State Fullerton graduate, and South Bay resident, Suzuki. Kurt, thank you very much for joining me.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Let's go back to the beginning. You were born and raised in Hawaii. How did baseball culture in Hawaii shape you as a young athlete? And what role did your family have in that part?
Yeah, I think growing up in Hawaii was definitely a different experience, obviously. Now living in California, for the past, 20 years or so. Growing up in Hawaii, it was about beach, obviously hanging out with friends, surfing, fishing, all that type of water, a lot of water activity. But sports was always a big part of my life. I played everything from basketball, soccer. I played some tennis. I tried to swim. I did all the sports, right? And I think the lifestyle of Hawaii, I think the advantage that gave me was to be more of a laid back, easy to get along with type of guy. And in sports, obviously, yes, you need talent, but the mentality, the mindset, the type of person you are definitely plays a huge role into advancing in your career. So I think that definitely gave me the upper hand in that category. Just the type of attitude that you had growing up, and nothing really bothers you type of thing. So that, I think that was definitely a huge role. And then for my parents, they always pushed me to be the best I could be, and it was always about earning everything you got. Nothing was ever given to me. My parents had to work hard for everything that they got, and that's what they instilled in me, was to really go after your dreams, work hard if you want something, and to be proud of yourself for your achievements.
What was your favorite sport to play that wasn't baseball?
I actually loved soccer growing up. That was actually my favorite sport, was soccer.
Do any of your three kids play soccer?
So they used to. So my daughter used to play soccer. Now she's just volleyball. My little one dabbles in soccer. He doesn't really play for AYS. Then my middle one, Kai, he did AYSO for years, and then this year was the first year he didn't do it. He just played baseball, and then he plays basketball, volleyball, all the sports, flag football, through the school at the CYO organization.
Catholic Youth Organization. So you attend Cal State Fullerton. What led to that decision to attend Fullerton?
So obviously, coming from Hawaii, not a lot of recruiting tools, not a lot of recruiting access, not a lot of showcases that go on. So recruiting was definitely hard, for myself. It was definitely a challenge, but my mom kind of took over that role, and she kind of, I guess, put the videos, contacted schools, emailed coaches, and things like that. And there was a few schools that, we were kind of targeting that I was interested in. It was the uh, University of Arizona, Loyola Marymount, Fullerton, Pepperdine were a few of them that, we were interested in. And we actually did a tour of those campuses one summer, and met the baseball coaches. They were kind enough to meet and talk to you and stuff. And then it's just something about meeting Coach Serrano, at Cal State Fullerton. He took time. It was a Saturday morning, and he took time out of his morning to meet. He's the one that took us around the campus and spoke to us, and that's something that I'll never forget. He really took the time to get to know me as a person, and things like that. And honestly, I actually walked on to Cal State Fullerton. I was a walk on there. They kind of just said, "Hey, listen, it might be a dead end. We don't want you to come here. We want you to understand. We don't want you to come here and expect like a recruit, right? It's more of a, hey, come here. We will give you every opportunity to be on the team, but just to be transparent, we don't know what's going to happen. We have two other catchers coming in on full scholarships and all that type of stuff. And I just wanted an opportunity. And they said, we will give you a fair opportunity to play. And the rest is history, I guess. I started as a freshman in college and, kind of moved on from there.
How did that work toward everything you were given? You're a walk on. You've got two other catchers ahead of you. How did that mentality prepare you for not only college but the professional ranks as well?
Well, in the game of baseball, I feel like you have to prove yourself, every year that you're playing, right? There's always somebody out there that's looking to take your job. There's somebody out there that's I don't want to say that's always better than you, but there's definitely guys out there that think they're better than you and they're willing to do whatever it takes to get your job. So I feel like when I came to college and I had to earn my way, earn my scholarship through there and really I guess dedicate myself to that, I felt like it helped me in the point of I always wanted to be the guy that worked harder than everybody else. I didn't want to look back at my career and say, "Man, if I did this, maybe I could have done this." I didn't want to have any regrets. So I think being at college and pushing myself to earn that spot, on the team and in the starting lineup, I feel like that helped me prepare myself for the professional ranks, knowing there's guys that are getting drafted every single year that are coming to get your job. And what are you going to do to not let that happen? And I feel like the college experience definitely helped me with that.
You're drafted second round, 67th overall. What was that like, when you get the call either from your agent or from the organization to say, "Hey, we really like what we see. We want to take a chance on you and welcome you to the Oakland Athletics organization."
Yeah, it was definitely cool. It was after was it after? It was before or after a super regional. I think it was before the super regional. The draft happened, or I think it was after, maybe after. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. But anyway, I did get a call from my agent, and he said, "Hey, it wasn't this whole, spiel. It was all on computer. There was no TV or anything." He was like, "Hey, I hope you're listening." He's like, "The A's are going to take you with their next pick. Make sure you're on." So I was on and I heard him, say, yeah, with the 67 pick, we select Kurt Suzuki, Cal State Fullerton. It was a kind of a surreal experience, knowing coming from, the island of Maui, the state of Hawaii, through Cal State Fullerton, now getting drafted in the second round to the professional ranks. It was pretty surreal experience, the surreal moment, thinking how far you've come to achieve your goal, which was, to play professionally.
Now, the biggest thing that a lot of people, and especially myself as a child, I didn't understand how hard people had to work just to get from being drafted to getting the call and then to staying in the big leagues. But how would you best describe the daily grind of professional baseball, from riding on buses to sleeping on a bench to thinking, man, I don't, did you ever think that you didn't want to see tomorrow if this was going to continue, or was it like, all right, cool, I'm chasing that dream and I'm going to reach it one way or another?
Yeah, I feel like the latter part is what I felt like. Obviously it wasn't easy. Like you talked about the bus rides, the hotels, the travel, the food, living arrangements. They definitely weren't ideal. But at the same time, I felt like that gave me the extra motivation and drive to make it. Where it was like, hey, do you want to do this the rest of your life, or do you want to get to the major leagues? And I know obviously it's not that easy, but it definitely gave me more motivation to work harder to get to the major leagues, understanding, where you could end up, dealing with the travel, like you said, travel, the sleeping arrangements, the food, all that type of stuff, to where you could possibly be if you, achieve what you set out to do. That just gave me the extra motivation just to work that much harder.
So like I said earlier, you had stops. You started in Oakland, then Minnesota, then Atlanta, Washington, and then Angels.
Yes.
through those stops, and I know we've had this discussion, but some of the funnest memories that you have from your journey. You won a World Series in 2019. That's got to be at the top of the list. But what stands out to you about that 13-year career that you look back on and say, I'm super stoked to be even a part of that?
I think every stop, right? I was always, I never took for granted being in the major leagues. Whatever stop, obviously Oakland playing the Coliseum, the clubhouse, the field, it wasn't the greatest. But for me, it was. I just felt like, being in a major league stadium, Oakland had probably some of the most passionate fans in the game. Being able to play in front of them on a nightly basis, that was a great experience. To going to Minnesota, brand new stadium, going to Atlanta, brand new stadium. Washington was pretty brand new after. So, moving on, playing in some nice stadiums, throughout my career, the great experiences, experiencing different cities, experiencing different organizations. It definitely led to where I am today because you see every organization's run differently. And there's a lot of things that each organization does that make them unique, make them good, in their minds. And I think being a part of it and experiencing that experience of how they run things definitely helped me, now being the manager, for the Angels, it like experiencing every stop. That was the one thing is like what the question I get asked the most is, throughout your career, what organization like had the most impact on you and will have the most impact on you. And it really, honestly, it's every organization, there's not just one or one manager that I played for. It's everybody. I feel like everybody at this level is unique in their own way and special in their own way.
Because you even played for Wash in multiple stops, played for him in Oakland, and then played for him in Atlanta as well, right?
Not
Yeah,
in Oakland, but Atlanta.
got it. Because he was with Texas.
It was his first year in Texas when I got called up. But
All right. What was that?
in spring training, I was with him.
All right. So your last season, you come back to Los Angeles and you're catching for the Angels. What was that experience like? Being close to home, it being your last year. You knew this was it, but you get to go onto the field in Oakland for your last game and kind of say a goodbye that way as well.
Yeah, it was definitely special. Obviously, going to Cal State Fullerton, literally 5-10 minutes away from Angel Stadium. Watched a lot of the games. Obviously, was a freshman in college when the Angels won the World Series. So that experience was really neat, seeing how the city rallied around the Angels and really supported them. That was really cool now to be putting on an Angels uniform and, kind of thinking back on my college days. I think that was cool. And then obviously the send off, right? That was pretty special. And, I was kind of talking, the winter meetings last week, and I ran into Mark Kotze, who's the manager for the A's, and we were talking about it because he's a Cal State Fullerton guy. And it was funny, we were talking about my manager for the Angels was Phil Nevin. Kotze was managing the A's. My pitching coach was Matt Wise, who went to Fullerton, and the starting pitcher was Michael Lorenzen, who went to Fullerton. So I still have the ball. All of them had signed it, put a cool inscription on it, and that was the last pitch that I had caught in the major leagues. And I thought that was something that's really cool.
I want to go back to 2019, not because it's the Nationals, but because it's your World Series. What are some special things that you remember about that run that still stand out to you? I remember watching it personally because how can I miss playoff baseball? Howie Kendrick hits a shot at Dodger Stadium to send the Nats to the World Series. That pitching staff was absolutely insane. I think that was Juan Soto's coming out party. But what were some things that you remember about that special year?
Well, our team was obviously very talented. Little on the older side, but definitely talented. I had a great coaching staff led by Davey Martinez, who's one of my favorites, so I still keep in touch with today. But I think obviously everybody talks about, right, 19 and 31, to start the year, and you're thinking, man, this is over. Like our season's over. We were so far behind, and it was kind of like I don't want to say do or die, but it was like, hey, we either turn it around now or the season's over. Everybody's getting traded, guys are getting fired, and the season goes to disaster. Like I've been a part of those before too. So I think what made it special is we rallied together, and I think when you achieve what we achieved in 2019 and went through the struggles and the obstacles that we all went through together, it only brings you closer. And so, like, I mean, some of my great friends in this game are from that team because of what we went through together. And, that was a special time, not just winning the World Series, but the bonds and the relationships that you create with your teammates and their families is special. And that's the stuff that you remember. Yeah, you remember, of course, you remember the winning the World Series, but the bonds that last forever together with these players and their families, I think is something that I don't want to say people don't realize, but I don't know if they really understand the impact that going through something that has on families.
Well, of course, and that's, for me, that's the biggest thing because at the end of the day, it's not about the fans are going to remember the wins and losses, but the players are going to remember the grind, the sweat, the blood that they've all put in together, and it's remarkable one way or another because you guys, at the end of the day, we're still human beings. We still have a family. We still have, something that makes our heart beat and something that we wake up for at the end of the day. So I do want to thank you for that. I want to go back to Atlanta. One of the things that I'd heard on 755 is Real, it's with Eric O'Flaherty and Dave O'Brien, and they were talking about after the Braves won in 2021 that this is attributed to all the people that helped set this foundation for the Braves. And in my opinion, you're one of those. But what was it like going into a franchise that was so storied like Atlanta and knowing that, you're helping this organization try to get back to the top where it was for so long?
It definitely is an organization that definitely has a tradition, right? And they have that aura about them. I grew up a Braves fan just because they were on TBS, and in Hawaii, that's what you get. And the timing was perfect. I get home from school, the game's going on. It's perfect timing. The Smoltzes, the Maddoxes, the Glavins, the Furcal, like Chipper Jones, like all those guys, right? I grew up watching, and a lot of people in Hawaii are Braves fans because of that. But just to be a part of that organization, I played at the new ballpark when it first opened. I don't know, is it still called Truist? I think it's still
SunTrust.
SunTrust. I'm sorry, SunTrust.
Kurt, I can't remember what it's called anyway.
Yeah, SunTrust, right? It was probably SunTrust. When I played there, but SunTrust, it was the first year, and what a beautiful stadium, right? It was our first year. Braves are moving into a new stadium, and then the next year in 18, we went to the playoffs. We won the division. We weren't even supposed to be, in the conversation, and from there on, it was just the tradition just kept going. I mean, you saw, but and a lot of it attributed to who was managing is Brian Snicker. I mean, what a special human being he is. So I think just being a part of the organization, seeing the players that have come through there that still come back to support and to show their face in the clubhouse, and that, like, I see Chipper Jones. When I used to see Chipper all the time, he used to come and say hi to me, and I'm like, man, Chipper Jones, this guy I grew up watching, idolizing. As a kid, he's coming up and saying what's up to me every time I come to the ballpark to play the Braves. When I left there, the Glavins and Smoltzes and Andrew Jones, like all these guys that are just legends. And so I think just being a part of that was definitely a surreal experience because I grew up watching them on TV.
Yeah, I get that question a lot, and I'm happy that you said it because that's how I grew up. You come home from school and 4 o'clock, 4:30, you've got baseball on 80 days a year. Where in
Right.
Hawaii, I know it's a little bit of a time different, but Game 4 of that National League Division Series plays in my head a lot because it's Bueller against Acuna, and the bases are loaded. And it's the only game that the Braves won that series. But I know that you talk about electric atmospheres with the A's having a very passionate fan base, but how many stadiums have you heard louder than that day where Acuna hits a grand slam in the playoffs?
Yeah, it was definitely one of the loudest I've been around. I've been around some loud ones. That was definitely up there towards the top of a loud one. It felt like the place was shaking. Like literally, it felt like it was shaking. And what a cool moment that was. I mean, not just for for the the fans, but for Acuna, like, I mean, this kid's 20 years old, breaking into the big leagues, hits a grand slam in I think it was like the second inning or third inning or something like that, off of Bueller to give us the lead. I mean, what an amazing experience.
You've played with some really amazing players. You've caught some insane pitchers, but who are some of those players that you're never going to forget as far as not only the talent level, but just the work ethic that they put in?
I feel like they all worked hard. I mean, to be at that level, you can't just coast and go through, right? You have to be a hard worker. You have to have intangibles to make you that successful. You know, Scherzer sticks out. I mean, every time everybody asks me about a pitcher, it's always Max comes to mind, right? I'm really good friends with Max, and we hung out all the time. And this guy's on the mound, what you see with him, that's who he is. He's an animal. He works as hard as anybody, position players, pitcher that I've ever been around. And and yeah, he's talented, but I mean, this guy puts in the work, and that's what makes him so special. Is he never takes for granted, any single day in the big leagues. He's always working to get better. I mean, the guy's going to be in the Hall of Fame after he's done playing, and every single day he's working to try to improve. And I think that's a good role model for kids, seeing as like, hey, you've never figured the game out. You're always you always have the ability to improve. And I think me being around a guy like Max, who's a Hall of Famer, who's going to be a Hall of Famer, and watching how he puts in the work to get better every single day definitely leaves an impression on myself.
I went to a game, I think whoever the Angels were playing last year when he was on a major league roster, I was sitting there and all I heard was a fastball, and up in the 500 section, you just hear the fastball go pop. And to hear it from that distance, especially with him and knowing that, he's getting older, but at the same time, he's still got an arm, he's still got the command. That was something else. After you retire, you go into the front office with the Angels. What went into that decision? And then I want to get into what went into the decision to finally say, I'm ready to manage.
Well, I've always wanted to be a part of the game after I was done. I definitely don't miss the part where I have to get my body ready to play. Definitely miss the competition, miss being around the game, miss all the things that go into preparing yourself to play with, studying and all that type of stuff. But, I just wanted to see the game from a different, I guess, lens. When you're in the front office, it's a lot different. You see what go on behind the scenes with the analytics and the decisions that go into creating a roster, and the minor leagues as well. So seeing the game from that for a few years, you kind of get the hint like, hey, maybe like, um, I can manage. And seeing what goes into it and what it entails, it definitely intrigued me. I've always thought about managing, even when I was playing, talking to front office, people around the league whenever I played, definitely interested me. But I mean, what a great timing wise this was. I'm a good friends with Perry, obviously being around Perry for, since Atlanta, and the front office staff when I played is the same. So I got relationships with them. It's everything lined up. I get to live at home, be with my kids 80 days a year. Like, everything just lined up so perfectly that, I just, they asked me if I was interested, and I said, yeah, I am. So, and then the rest is history. So it's actually, it couldn't have happened at a more perfect time, at a perfect place.
You've had the chance to learn from a lot of different coaches and managers. What's the philosophy that you want to bring to an organization that has passionate fans that would love to see the Angels reach that postseason?
Yeah, it's definitely like I tell people, I'm not here to reinvent the wheel, right? I'm not here to try to, say this needs to be changed. This, do I feel like some things need to change and some things need to be added? Sure, of course. But baseball is still baseball. And I feel like if we can get back to playing baseball with the help of analytics and all the data that we have, and kind of create this perfect recipe to put the players in the best positions to be successful, I think that's a great start. Obviously, spring training has to be on point. These players need to, I know they're Major League Baseball players, but even Major League Baseball players, I've went through it. You need time to get ready for a season. It's a process, and it takes time. And it takes reps, even at the major league level. It takes a lot of reps to get to where you want to be physically, mentally, fundamentally, all these type of things. So, just emphasizing at the end of the day what it takes to win, right? It's moving a guy over, it's bunting, whether it's getting a guy in from third base less than 2 outs, whether it's making a great decision on a play on the infield, pitchers attacking the strike, whatever that is, right? It comes down to what's it going to take to win. And I think sometimes we can get lost in the analytics and the data of wanting to hit the ball hard, hit the ball far, throw the ball hard, and we forget what it takes to win baseball games. And I think if we can incorporate more of that into the data and the analytics that we do have currently, then I feel like the players will be in the best positions to succeed. And that's our job as coaches.
ABC baseball and fundamentals. Man, a man after the heart. You've got one of the most generational talents on your roster in Mike Trout. How fun is it to watch him play? And how much are you looking for a full healthy season out of somebody like that, knowing that when he's healthy, he's a game changer?
Yeah, I mean, there's no mystery, right? When Mike Trout's in the lineup, any team would be a better team with a guy like Mike Trout in the lineup every day. Injuries are part of the game. Injuries happen. Mike's one of the hardest workers that I've been around also. I mean, this guy is always finding ways to get better. This guy works in the cage as much as anybody I've ever seen, almost too much. He's working out in the weight room. I've seen it as a player, being his teammate, seeing what he puts in, the amount of time, energy, effort that he puts in to help the team. And like I said, injuries are tough, man. And it's there's no way to solve, injuries. I always tell people it's luck because I never got injured when I played. And I felt like I was lucky, and that's because guys get injured all the time, and there's nothing you can do to control it. It's just part of the game. And obviously going back for Mike, it's watching him work, watching the skill set that he brings to the field every single day. It's obviously special. Fans have seen it. The guy was the best player over the last decade of baseball, and me being his teammate for 2 years, watching him work was special. And now being able to manage him, this season, I'm definitely looking forward to a healthy Mike. I've spoken to Mike a bunch of times on what we can do to help him, be the most successful Mike Trout he can be at this stage of his career. We all understand, he might be past his prime. We don't know. Like, we don't know what Mike Trout, um, has in store, because for me, he's the type of guy, if you doubt his talent, his skill level, it's a big mistake, because like I said, he is so special. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm obviously, like everybody else in this world, I'm a huge Mike Trout fan. So to be able to manage him on a daily basis is going to be great.
I mentioned something during the World Series. I said there are 3 number 27s currently in Major League Baseball that could all make the Hall of Fame: Guerrero, Austin Riley, and Mike Trout. And I didn't get any responses from that, but I was like, you know what? If Austin Riley stays healthy and if Vladimir Guerrero continues on the trajectory, I think that's a very big possibility.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Giancarlo Stanton could make the Hall of Fame also.
Forgot
You
he
know,
wore 27.
yeah, but you're totally right. And Mike's going to be in the Hall of Fame, when he's playing. There's no doubt about that. It's being able to see him on a daily basis and appreciate what he brings to the table. Obviously, injuries have derailed him the last few years, but like I said, when Mike Trout is on the field and he's healthy, it's a game changer.
What's the hardest thing about coaching in Los Angeles? And I know that you're not there yet, but what do you foresee as being the biggest obstacle to overcome with the Dodgers being 2-time World Series champions, having one of the best lineups, and trying to get even better through free agency and trades?
I don't really see any obstacle. I think at the end of the day, we're focused on ourselves. And I think if we worry about what other teams are doing, obviously, yes, the players know, but for coaches, managers, the front office, yeah, you see what other teams are doing to get better. You definitely want to get better. But at the end of the day, the talent we have in our minor leagues, currently in the major leagues, we definitely feel like there's some low hanging fruit there that we can help improve. And And it's our job as coaches to bring out the best in these players. And yeah, we might not have the sexiest names, on the lineup card on a given night compared to the Dodgers, compared to the Yankees, the Red Sox, etc. But that's not always what wins baseball games. And I've been on teams that are expected to win that lose, and I've been on teams that are expected to lose that win. So in this game, at the end of the day, you got to go between the lines and perform, and anything can happen.
There we go. Kurt, that's going to wrap up the quote unquote serious part of our interview. I'm going to transfer into rapid fire. I've got 5 questions for you. I hope to stick to 5. All-time favorite baseball players, any era. Top 5.
Well, 5 of them?
Top 5 all-time favorite baseball players, any era.
Okay. Well, speaking of the Braves, we're going for Chipper Jones was definitely one of them. Pudge Rodriguez was definitely one of them. Let me think. Obviously, I came up with Jason Kendall and just being on his team, and he's a Torrance guy. I mean, he's definitely up there on my list of guys that I loved. I know there's 2 catchers on there, but let me see who else. Ichiro. Ichiro is definitely somebody that I loved. I loved watching, and then let's see, Mike Piazza. I played with Mike, my first year in the big leagues too. So watching him, it was pretty cool.
3 out of 5 were catchers. I can appreciate that. Your favorite city to play in that you didn't play for?
Boston. Love Boston.
Did you ever hit a couple over the monster?
Yes.
Top 3 baseball movies.
Sandlot is one of them. Rookie of the Year is one of them. And let me think. And The Rookie. I know I don't have Bull Durham on there, but it's up there too. But those 3 were definitely the ones that I like. Or I guess more kids friendly, I guess you can say.
Yeah, right. Those are good for me. I enjoy them as well. A biopic is being made about your life. Who plays Kurt Suzuki?
Oh, man. I mean, I'd like to wish I was Billy Bean and say Brad Pitt, but that's a good question. I mean, I don't know many actors, I guess, that. I don't know.
Your favorite, or your.
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, how could it? I mean, it'd be really cool if I thought Jason Momoa could play me.
Let's go. He could cut his hair.
Yeah.
You got a flat tire and you've got to make a phone call. Any teammate over your career has to, and you call them. Which one's going to answer the call to change your tire?
It would be. I mean. Oh man, I play with a lot of players, so I really got to think about this. You probably don't know this guy, Mark Ellis.
Yeah, second baseman.
Yep, second baseman. He was one of my really good friends. We still talk to this day. So
you'd be surprised at how much baseball I watched when I was in college and working through college. All right, Kurt. Local love, your go-to South Bay eatery and your favorite dish there.
I mean, I don't know if you consider it a dish, but I'm a big acai bowl connoisseur, and Berry Bowl down in the Riviera next to Trader Joe's is definitely my favorite spot.
What do you get when you go there?
I get the classic acai classic with a hemp seed, strawberries, raw coconut, cacao nibs.
There we go. Kurt, you are amazing. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you. Best luck to the Angels. I know my kids are pulling for the Dodgers, but for me, it's Braves at 4 and Angels at 7.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Kurt.
All right, see ya.